Talking about House Escher weapons and equipment, there's also a plastic upgrade sploo. Sploo! Hi, I'm John, and welcome back to Dice Paper Miniatures. In today's episode, we're going to look a little bit more closely at the new Necromunda Hive War. Specifically, we're going to look at the Escher gang as well as the Delaque gang and their playstyles for each one of those gangs. All right, so with that said, let's begin. So yeah, with the new announcement that Necromunda Hive War is going to be on pre-order for May 8th, we got some previews, well, more previews, that go into a little bit more depth with each gang in that new starter box set. So we have, on April 27th, we have content specifically for the Delaque gang, and then on, I believe it was, April 29th, we had more content for the Escher. So let's go ahead and take a look at that content for the Delaque. Basically, these articles go into the play style you can expect to see as far as each gang. For those that are familiar with Necromunda, then yeah, you kind of know how these two gangs play out. But if you're brand new, which is what this box set is focusing on, are new players, this is some great insight as to the play styles of these gangs. So for the Delaque, they're kind of well, it says it in the headline, they're sneaky. So the Delaque are one of those two gangs included in the Necromunda Hive War box set that's available to pre-order from Saturday, the 8th of May. We're taking a look at the most secretive of all the clan houses in preparation. So yeah, this is a painted up gang of the Delaque. And so who are they? The Delaque are masters of information on Necromunda. It's said that their spies operate through the Hive, snooping on all of the houses. Other clans are suspicious of House Delaque, and their sinister appearance does little to contradict the age-old reputation for double-dealing and espionage. Even the rulership of the House Delaque remains a mystery. Their senior nobles meet in closed session, but the court has no permanent chair, obscuring the house's true leader and yet another layer of darkness. So, for those of you that don't follow me, I'm really into Necromunda. Delaque is kind of historically the gang I like to play the most. They can be a little unforgiving at time. They are kind of trickier to play, but when you can get a good game in with Delaque, it feels really rewarding. So that's been my experience with them. Of course, your experience may vary some, but I dig it. So how do they play, at least according to GW? As you might expect from such a secretive house, Delaque gangs have access to several sneaky tricks. Any fighter can take throwing knives as a basic weapon, so they can silently take out enemy fighters before they even know what hits them, that is pretty cool. But we'll see more into why I like them. Alternatively, you can arm your champions and leaders with the long rifle, set them up in an advantageous position before sniping away at key members of an enemy gang, then slip back into shadows. Yeah. I tend to like to use them as snipers, and their ability to kind of be positioned stealthily on the board is kind of a cool thing. I like it. And then they have a little bit of a control element, if you will, which you'll see here in their weapons description. So their contacts with the ruling houses on Necromunda give House Delaque access to some esoteric weaponry, such as a grav pistol and web gauntlet. That web gauntlet being the cool one as far as really it messes with the opponent's ability to play objectives. It kind of pins folks down, which can be kind of frustrating for the opponent, but it's a strategy competitive, war game, so it is what it is. The latter is perfect for your gangers, as they can capture enemy fighters in an escapable web, all the better to drag them back to friendly territory to interrogate them. So yeah, the Delaque can also take smoke grenades. They're perfect for hiding your advance as you sneak up on the enemy gangers and take them out with the choice of pistols selected from an impressive range of options. So yeah, there's flechette pistols, flamers, las pistols, slugs, stubbers too. Like awesome. If you like spies, assassins, or just the long overcoats, the Delaque are for you. You'll be able to get a full gang in Necromunda Hive War, along with everything else you need to play, with that new starter box. So this was just a little bit more of an in-depth onto the play style of the Delaque gang. Again, we've seen some different articles, and you can make some assumptions on how they would play based on the look of the models, but this article kind of helps dial in what your expectation is as far as what the play style, at least the recommended play style, should be. You'll find that some min-maxers may kind of like really dial into like one or two aspects of the gang and like kind of forego some of their other qualities and just really hyper focus on a couple specific strategies. But I really like them. Again, they're tricky to play. They take some practice. But when you do win, I feel like, I don't know, it just feels rewarding in that respect. Now, as I mentioned, we did get on the 29th, kind of a more in-depth article on the play style as well as the lore for the Escher gang. So let's take a look at that. Again, you kind of immediately see poison. That is a part of their thing. So after finding out all about the mysterious Delaque, it's time to meet the other stars of the Necromunda Hive War box set, the Escher, along with their diverse collection of potions, lotions, poisons, and toxins. I'm not sure how lotions fits in there, but hey, there you go. It sounds funny. So who are they? House Escher is the most strikingly different of all the clan houses on Necromunda, as their population is almost entirely women. They produce a vast array of exotic pharmaceuticals, from gene-enhancing elixirs to luxury drugs to deadly poisons, and the house derives most of its wealth and power from supplying these across the planet. So how do they play? The fighters in Escher gangs are fast, skillful, and deadly. They can field some incredibly flexible gangs too. With access to cheap and reliable las guns, they can lay down a wall of firepower that will bring down even the hardiest of Goliath gangers. But in this box set, it's Delaque. Their stiletto knives and stiletto swords have the toxin trait, making it easy to take out enemy fighters regardless of how many wounds they have. Yeah, so that's pretty cool. While aesthetically, I'm not super into Escher, I do like their play style as far as being speedy, and their use of toxins is pretty cool. So they can take the Nightshade Chem Thrower, a weapon unique to Escher gangs. As a template weapon, it can hit multiple fighters at once, giving you the chance to devastate an enemy gang with a single attack. This lethal weapon also has the silent trait, so you can take out foes before they even know you're there. Yeah, that is a thing. So Escher fighters can also take Chemsynth. This esoteric piece of equipment makes any weapon with the toxin trait or gas trait even more potent by reducing the toughness of your target. Your enemies will think twice before messing with House Escher in the future. And the, kind of the weakness with Escher is they're a little bit on the squishy side, but that's also kind of true with Delaque. So it's interesting how they've kind of put these two together. More of a close combat assault team, though. So there's a difference in playstyle. Escher being more close combat. You could argue the Delaque are long range, but they do have like the stabby builds as well. I tend to like the sniper options. So, again, you may have a different preference, and that's what's cool about it. You can always build it how you would like to play them. So back to the Escher. Talking about House Escher weapons and equipment, there's also a plastic upgrade sprue coming out alongside Necromunda Hive War, packed with deadly weaponry and alternate heads. It's perfect for personalizing your gang. It is interesting, they do get their own sprue. There's also another sprue coming out, but it's not for Delaque, it's for Goliath. So it is what it is. Hopefully every gang moving forward will also get their own custom sprue. Technically, you could get versions of that. You can get alternate head sculpts and additional weapons and upgrades like that from Forge World, but it looks like they're gradually moving over to where you can have it into the plastics, which I think in theory means they might be cheaper. We'll find out. There's definitely, we'll see here, well, you've seen in other articles, and you can see on the Warhammer community, for pre-order Saturday, they do have that weapons upgrade, which includes the head and hairstyle changes as well as the weapons. But you'll see in there, this new version for Escher and Goliath, the heads are definitely different than the heads they have from Forge World. So there is some still, I guess, some validation. If you want to still buy the Forge World stuff, you could do that just for, a difference of aesthetics. But if you're just looking for upgrades to your weapons and having a little bit more of an aesthetic change to your gang, and you just want to get the sprues for a pre-order, that is a way of doing it. Sometimes Forge World's out of stock on things. I'm assuming these sprues will be an evergreen thing because they do a similar thing for the different chapters for the Space Marines and Warhammer 40k. So Let's hope that's the case. I guess we'll find out. But in any event, that's kind of the major differences between the Delaque and Escher. So Delaque can be close range, but they're kind of secretive way where you can deploy them on the map where they're hidden and have long range sniping capabilities is kind of what I like. And then with the Escher, you have a little bit more of the stabby, but with poisons, or with that chem, basically flamethrower, the Nightshade chem thrower. That's an interesting twist. Depending on your opponent, if you're fighting a melee based team, then you might hit a lot of models with that. Otherwise, if they're spread out like I tend to play with my Delaque, you may not, the value of that may not be as high. But, that's the pros and cons of all these different weapon options for sure. But again, they're fast and they got poisons for Escher, and with Delaque, they're kind of hidden as well as their long range sniping capabilities. So yeah, that's it for a little bit more in-depth information on both the Delaque and the Escher. Let's go ahead to the summary and wrap things up. Okay, so after looking a little bit more closely at the play styles of both the Escher and Delaque in the new upcoming Necromunda Hive War box set, what do you feel is going to be the game for you to really focus on at first? Are you more of a Delaque player or more of an Escher player? For me, I've always been more of a Delaque player, but they've introduced some new things for Escher, so I'll probably, want to give them a little bit more of a closer look and try them out a few times as well. So there's definitely that to consider. And I'll be curious if the Delaque still can kind of go back and forth between either that sneaky, stealthy, up close and personal combat style, or are they going to introduce some mechanics that just make the long range sniper spec just that much more powerful? Again, there is a new rule book. So the new rule book is supposed to include all the FAQ and errata from previous editions of Necromunda. So not only is there the FAQ, there might be some streamlined rules as well as some adding a little bit more new content. It's hard to say for sure. While they've teased and previewed and spoiled all sorts of new content, what's in that rule book hasn't been talked about too much yet. So it's going to be one of those things where I'll probably do an unboxing on that and do a review of that rule book in the future. They also didn't mention that the rule book will be for sale separately, so keep an eye out for that. I'd love to get your thoughts and comments too. Again, what game do you think kind of fits your play style the most and why? And yeah, and if you like this content, please consider subscribing and hitting the notification bell. That's greatly appreciated, and it really helps with the YouTube algorithm. And with that said, I hope everyone is doing well. Be safe, take care, and I'll see you all again soon. Bye-bye.